Hello everyone, welcome to today's class. In today's class, we'll be creating a NodeJS application, and in that application, we'll be creating a file and adding some data to that file. So the first thing we'll be doing, I have a folder called file demo here, and I have it open in VS Code here. You can see it's empty. So the first thing I'm going to do will be to run npm init, and that will ask me for the package name. I'm just going to go with that. Let's just add a name here, and that's okay. So once that is done, I'm going to check my VS Code, and you'll see I have package.json created here. So we're going to be creating a server with the inbuilt HTTP module, and we'll also be writing data to files using the inbuilt FS module. So first of all, I'm going to create an index.js file in which we're going to create our server. So the first thing I'm going to do is require the inbuilt HTTP module, require HTTP, and then I'm going to create a server just like this, HTTP. Okay, now we type again, HTTP dot create server, and in the parentheses here, I'm going to have a function that takes two arguments. First one is request, second one is a response, and in this function for now, I'm just going to return a 200 status code, and then I'm just going to print back hello world to the user. I'm going to save this, and then finally I'm just going to listen to ports, let's say 8080, and I'm just going to have a callback function that lets me know that the server is running correctly. So I'll just say server is up and running. I'm going to save that. So I have my basic server set up. Let's go ahead and test that. So I'm just going to clear my terminal here, and then I'm going to run node index.js, and there we have it. The server is up and running. So I'm going to open up my browser and just have localhost ports 8080, and there we have it, hello world correctly. Okay, great. Now we're going to have to use the FS module to write data to a file. Now, to write data to a file using the FS module, there are two methods available to us. The first one is okay, first of all, let us just require the file, the module, require FS. Then we have two methods to use. The first one is the write file method, fs.writeFile, as you can see here. write file, and then we have the other one, fs dot write file sync. These two methods do basically the same thing, but they do it in different ways. The write file um, does it asynchronously. That means it does not block execution of other lines of code while it is creating the file. The write file sync method, on the other hand, blocks further execution of code. So, except in a case where you outrightly want the execution of code to wait until the file is written, you can just go ahead to use the write file method. So for now, let's use the write file method. The write file method takes three arguments. The first one is the path where the file is going to be stored. Um, let's create a dummy file called dummy.txt. Yeah, so the second argument is the data which you are going to write into that file. So let's just have some dummy data, and let's just say some drawing if some. And then the third argument is a callback function. And what that callback function does is just to execute some code after the file has been written successfully. So for now, let's just say console.log file written successfully and save this. So I'm going to restart my server, and there we have it, file written successfully. And let's verify that in VS Code you can see this new file dummy.txt, and you can see the contents just like we have here. So you can see it's pretty straightforward. Takes three arguments: the path, the data, and then the callback function. The other method, the write file sync method, is almost the same syntax, but just a little difference. It takes the path. Okay, so let's call this um, um, dummy.txt, and then it takes in the data. So very awkward text, and that's all. It doesn't take a callback function, so that's just the difference. It doesn't take a callback function because it's not going to allow any other thing to run until it is done. So the essence of the callback function there is quite limited. So it does not take callback function. Okay, so if we do this now, and I can just console.log after this and say file written. I'm going to save this, and let's just restart the server and see what happens. Okay, so you can see file written, server is up and running. Meanwhile, if you see the difference when we use the write file method, you'll see that the server started before the completion of the file creation. So that was what I said by what I meant rather by it runs asynchronously. However, you can see in the write file sync that the file creation was complete before the server could start. Alright, so let's confirm that our file was created correctly, and there you can see it, data. Okay, so far so good. We've learned how to use the two write file methods. So let's complete this by using this in our routes instead of just in index.js file. So I'm just going to cut this out and place it here. So if I write to this file, anytime someone tries to access our server, this is going to run first, and then it's going to send back this. So let's make some more robust data. Let's use an object this time, and then write it to a JSON file instead of just a TXT file. So I'm going to create an object called data. I'm just going to give it some properties like age 10, cars 12. Okay, now on the write file and write file sync methods, the data type that can be written to the file, if I place my cursor here, just so you can see, after I type in the path of the file, you can see that VS Code tells me that the data has to be a string or a buffer. You can see it right down here, data to write. If something other than a buffer or UINT array is provided, the value is coerced to a string. So the write file sync and the write file methods always expect a string or buffer as data. So for example, if I try to write this object directly, I'm going to get an error because this is not a string. I need to convert this to a string format before it can be written to a file. Let's just verify that. I'm going to save this, and then I'm going to restart my server. You can see that there is no file. Okay, the file cannot be written yet because we are doing it inside of the browser here, right? So let's go over to our browser and just refresh this. Okay, so you can see something is happening here. Let's check what happened on the console. It says what? The data argument must be of type string, one instance of buffer. So that verifies what I was saying. The data that is going to be written to this file has to be either a string, it has to either be a string or a buffer. So what we can do here is to say let's string data. We could use the JSON.stringify method to convert this object to a string format. So I will just say JSON.stringify data, and then over here, instead of data, I'm going to have string data. Okay, so let's just make this a JSON file to round it up. So let me just call this data, or rather new data dot JSON, and I'm going to save it. I'm going to restart my server, and then I'm going to refresh this, and you'll see here I have a new file called new data.json, and if I open this file, you can see the data objects that we had initially. One last thing you will notice that this object here is written on one line, and that is just because of how we stringified the object. So let me delete this, delete this, and this. So I could indent the JSON object correctly by just adding some more arguments to this method here. This is going to be null, and this is going to be so. I can save this and then restart my server. Okay, and then reload this page. Okay, let us also change the response from hello world to file created successfully. I'm going to save that and again start my server. Okay, and then try this one more time. Okay, file created successfully. Let's check VS Code to be sure, and there we have it, well indented. So I hope you've been able to learn today how to create a file and how to write data to a file using the inbuilt FS module. And I will see you some other time.